Hey, this is Joe Leigh here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by the WBC president, Mauricio Sulaiman, here in Wembley. It's a pleasure to have you in the UK. How are you?
Very, very well. I'm doing great. Very excited. It's a fight week of one of the biggest fights that we can have in the world, and I'm just very excited.
Definitely. Now, you spoke to Danny from Seconds Out earlier about the fight, but seeing as that you're not in the UK often, we thought we'd speak to you again, so we won't talk too much on Fury White, but there are obviously many boxing topics to talk about. One of them I want to speak about is Canelo. Obviously, he's fighting next month, May 7th, against Dimitri Bivol, up at light heavyweight, and if he's successful, the rumours are that he's going to fight Golovkin down at super middleweight. We presume that the WBC title is going to be on the line, and would you say now that in April it's going to be undisputed and everyone's none of them are going to vacate any of the belts, or he's not going to vacate any of the belts?
We addressed the situation at the convention. Canelo petitioned to fight for the cruiserweight title, and the WBC accepted that and accepted the fact that he's the greatest star in the sport, and we have all the flexibility, and we are fighting for fighters to have that stature recognized. So the WBC ordered an interim title with Benavides in order to have the activity in the division. And the Canelo absolutely will have WBC support.
How likely will Golovkin be the man that's standing opposite him in the ring if he does beat Bivol?
That's what has been said. You know the same as me. That's what they have announced. But you never know. Golovkin won against Murata, and he's ready, and all he said was that Canelo was next in September. So we'll see what happens May 7th.
Yeah, of course, thought it was important to recap for the people that didn't know. Obviously, people don't know what's going to happen on May 7th, but just on Canelo, how much, as the business of WBC, how much does he bring to the sport, and particularly to the WBC after obviously having stars in the sport before, but what does Canelo bring?
Well, Canelo is the Mike Tyson, the Sugar Ray Leonard, the Chavez of today. He is the superstar. He is the representative of boxers in the world. He is the biggest sensation. And it's very important because he is the image of the sport for the kids, for the fans, and for him doing well, it means the sport is doing well.
Of course. Now, perhaps a question that may be difficult to answer, but seeing as that we're here in Wembley for a fight that sold 94,000 tickets in England, Tyson Fury is obviously from England, but if Canelo was to come to the UK, which I'm sure he's going to do, maybe this year, maybe next year, but eventually it's likely that he does, do you think he could sell out at Wembley? Do you think it would be an O2 at 20,000? How many seats do you think Canelo could sell if he came to the UK?
It would depend on the opponent. If it's a big fight, I am sure he will do very well at Wembley Stadium. It would depend on the opponent. Of course, the element of a British opponent would be important. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be difficult to have two foreigners fighting, unless he was like a Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather, yeah, that have a huge name, that it's attraction more than boxing itself. But I think Canelo can really make an impact here in the UK.
And what stars alongside Canelo do you think have transcended the sport whilst you've been involved in boxing? Obviously there's Tyson Fury as well, but what stars do you think have transcended it as much as Canelo?
Currently or from before?
Since you've been involved in boxing.
Well, I've been involved since I was born. As being in the house of my father. Yeah. So I saw the last of Muhammad Ali, the Larry Holmes era, the Chavez, Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, Duran. I saw the Mike Tyson firsthand. It was an unbelievable time. Oscar de la Hoya, yeah, Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins. Then came Pacquiao, Floyd. In the lighter divisions, Eric Morales, Barrera, Marquez. And then the latest, the Lennox Lewis. Yeah. Lennox was an incredible champion. Joe Calzaghe, dominant. And I would say Floyd was the one that passed on the torch to Canelo at this moment.
And obviously, talking about fighters that transcend the sport, a belt, fights in particular that transcend the sport will often have a belt on the line, and this one is no different. It's actually got the Union Jack belt as well. What were your thoughts behind that belt?
Well, it's a homage to celebrate the greatness of British boxing. The sport was born here, and it was exported to the world. And today, it's a great moment that it's going through with great champions, great activity. And having this fight between two British fighters, we decided to make a special belt, a commemorative belt, the Union belt that will go as a special trophy to the winner.
Definitely. Now, next week, we'll see Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, but also see Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson unifying the super featherweight division. Just talk to us on what a fantastic fight that's going to be.
Yeah, both cards are tremendous. Women showing their power in Madison Square Garden, which is the first time ever, and Shakur Stevenson with Valdez for the Unified Championship is very, very important for the sport. So I'm very happy. Last week we had Errol Spence in a great card in Dallas. A week before we had Fundora against Lubin, a tremendous fight. So boxing is every week, and then we'll have Cambosos against Haney in Australia, and then Inoue against Donaire in Japan. So it's a sensational time that we're going through.
Definitely. Now, quickly on the Oscar Valdez situation. Obviously, last fight he tested positive his A and B sample before the fight. What was your kind of take on that? Obviously, you spoke about that before, but for the people that haven't heard you or feel like you haven't had your say, why was he still allowed to fight?
Because of the substance. There are different kinds of substances and the results, the dangers, the effects. To be a very simple example, if I go to a store and I steal a candy bar, a chocolate, I'm stealing, correct? But if I go to a bank and I steal £1 million, I'm stealing. It's the same crime, but a much different. So you cannot penalize in the same way for a situation. The substance that he was found with, we did an ample investigation. He has tested more than 20 times, always negative. He tested in 2 Olympic games, and all the circles never had any positives. So we take in consideration all the matters, and this substance was not giving him any advantage whatsoever. So the fight was allowed to happen, and he paid a penalty that he's still having to comply with certain matters.
And you spoke to Danny earlier about the clean program that you've invested in as well. If something was to happen this week with Oscar Valdez, just for an example, not because he's done it before, but what would the situation, would the penalty be the same?
Well, you have to look at every single case separately. You cannot add them up. But certainly if he has a prohibited substance found and the investigations throws, it most likely will be a very more complicated, strong penalty.
That's fair enough. One more thing just on the rest of the year. There's obviously lots of exciting things coming up. We're now seeing more undisputed, more unified fights over the last couple of years. Just kind of how excited is it to be involved in that, and how much do you think boxing's actually grown from kind of, I guess since the pandemic, we're seeing more undisputed fights? Yes,
it's sensational. It's a great time that we're going through. We have made it clear consistently that we support unification bouts, that we support undisputed champions, and that we will do everything possible within our rules to keep those fighters with the belts. The problem comes with the rules of every organizations are different. And then the mandate of the mandatory challenger, and if they don't comply, they lose a belt. So we are trying to manage. We have met with the WBO and the IBF, and they seem very keen to find ways to have fighters keep the title so they can engage in unification bouts.
And then just lastly, while I've got you, on Jack Catterall, do you think he'll be fighting for the WBC belt anytime soon, obviously after a controversial loss to Josh Taylor?
He's a tremendous fighter. Our hats go off for him. He did a tremendous fight. We improved his ranking drastically, and I'm sure he will be fighting for the title in the near future.
Brilliant. Really appreciate your time. It's good to have you here in the UK, and yeah, best of luck for this week. It's a big one.
It's a big one, and I'm very happy and proud to be here. I just want to say that the British fans are the best in the world, and I love to see how they respect, how knowledgeable they are, and how passionate they are. So it's going to be a special night.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very much.